The only thing that I'm guilty of is being shy. Is being shy. Is being shy. Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I am Raphael and I am here to review part 1 of the reunion to the Real Housewives in Feathers of Salt Lake City. So we start part 1 of the reunion with everybody arriving in Los Angeles because that's where they're filming the reunion at, and everybody's hopping out of these black trucks and heading to their own personal trailer to get their makeup done, their hair, their wardrobe. Andy, he goes around everybody's trailer for a one-on-one conversation before the reunion just to see where they're at mentally, and he heads over to Jen's trailer. Jen is getting her hair and makeup done in the chair with her mom's retirement money, and Andy's just like, so Jen, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling? I know you're a little scared because allegedly you could be going to jail in a couple weeks. What is it, March 20, or whatever. We all know that we're going to start filming season 3 as soon as we're done here with this reunion, and we need you to be the center snowflake. So are you ready? Are you still going to stick around even for a couple weeks? And then Jen is just like, you know what, Andy? Yeah, I know things could be a little different in a couple weeks, but I'm here to prove my innocent. I'm innocent. I said innocent. Are you wearing a mic? Are you wearing a mic? You are wearing a mic, right? I'm wearing a mic too. I'm innocent. I said I'm innocent. Yeah, I'm innocent until proven guilty. But yeah, I'm innocent. And you know what? Yes, I am going to be here for season 3. I need to be the center snowflake. And guess what? I've been practicing my tagline for next season, even though I'm only going to be on 2 episodes, allegedly, but I'm still innocent. Here's my tagline. You want to hear it? Here it goes. The only thing I'm guilty of is being a shy crook. Do you like it, Andy? Do you like it? And Andy's just like, no, I don't. And then Andy, he also lets her know. There has been some speculations and rumors that I actually prepped Erica Jane for my line of questioning at the reunion for this past season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I want you to know, Jen, that I'm not doing that with you. Whatever question that I ask you, you're going to know right then and there when I ask you. You're not going to know anything in advance. I'm not going to give you any time to prepare your answer. You're just going to have to answer right then and there when I ask you, just like Erica did. And the reason why he's probably telling Jen all of this is because us as the audience, we saw how the reunion played out between Erica and Andy. Every time he asked her a question, she would have an answer for him. As soon as he barely had the question out of his mouth, and she already had the answer for him. So to us as the audience, it looked kind of fishy, like, did Andy give you any other questions? But from a lawyer's perspective, wouldn't that be kind of smart to like kind of go through the questions first? Like, oh, you can't ask this, you can't ask this, you can't ask this. Like, can they get involved when it comes to reality TV? Like, how far can they put their hand in the pot? But I don't know, because Erica, she answered all the questions, at least the best of her ability. And she also said that, oh, I can't answer certain questions because of my lawyer. So can Jen do the same thing? Like, is Jen allowed to answer every question? I'm not sure, but Jen, she just kind of went along with it. She's just like, yeah, it's fine. Like, no, Jen, no. At least ask him, like, can I at least know 2 questions in advance? And you know Erica Jane, since they were filming this in Los Angeles, you know Beverly Hills was right around the corner, and you know Erica Jane was probably sleeping like, she probably woke up in the middle of the night like, wait a minute, somebody's talking about me. And then Andy, he moves over to Lisa, and he's just like, so baby gorgeous, how are you feeling? How's everything? And Lisa, not even 2 seconds on screen, and she's already making herself out to be the victim, because she's just like, no, I can't believe this. Like, I can't believe they're all gunning for me. They're all coming for me. I just watched the entire season back, and nothing even happened. I don't get it. Like, why are they all coming after me? I have been a good friend. I didn't even do anything, Andy. Like, I literally watched all 21 episodes, and I didn't even do anything. I don't get it. All I did was promote my Vita vodka. I don't get it. And Andy's just like, okay, anyway, so then he goes over to Meredith. Meredith, she's getting her hair and makeup done, and he's just like, so Meredith, what's going on? And like, how are you feeling? And Meredith, she lets us know that she just went through all of the videotapes of each episode, and she watched the final one where Lisa just went off in the bathroom and called her a whore and said that she effed everybody in New York. So she just got finished watching that, and she's just like, you know, Andy, I'm pretty revolted by the whole experience. To see Lisa say such awful things, I'm pretty shocked and disgusted, honestly. And I don't know, I'm just feeling really hurt right now. I really am. I just can't believe such words will come out of her mouth like that. And Andy, he was just watering in the mouth. I think that this is another trait of Andy I don't like, because you know that he genuinely does not care about any of these women's feelings or how they feel about anything. As long as they're kind of tearing each other apart, he's fine with that, as long as you get the ratings. And I'm just like, again, this is another reason why we need a different host, because you could just tell that he was salivating at the mouth. I think that's the word, right? Salivating? He was drooling at the mouth when Meredith was giving her answer, because he was just like, yeah, how does that make you feel? Are you ready to take Lisa on at the reunion? Yeah, make sure to be extra angry and upset, okay? Make sure to yell extra loud at the cameras, at all of them, okay? You could do whatever you want. Like, that's the type of vibe that Andy gives me, and I'm just like, ugh, it makes me cringe because it's just like, it's so obvious that he just wants the drama. Obviously, the audience does too, but, you know, to be like kind of just like wanting it that badly like that, it's kind of like, ugh, can you just at least pretend that you kind of care about their feelings or their thoughts or opinions or whatever? So that's that. And then we head over to the main stage. And the main stage looks so beautiful. Like the entire set. I think that Salt Lake City has the best reunion sets out of all the Housewives, out of all the entire franchise, because it's just so unique and so cool. Like every other one usually has like palm trees or whatever. This past one with Beverly Hills, we had Kathy Hilton's house. But this one, we have like a winter theme. I love the first reunion set. This one was even more beautiful. And the theme, I believe it was just like the igloo from the second episode of this season. I'm not sure if anybody remembers, but I believe it was Heather and Jen. They kind of met up in this igloo in Elsa's house. And that's basically what the theme is about. Like, oh, we're trying to mend friendships the way both of them mended their friendship inside this giant igloo. And in the middle, it's kind of like this little lake. And it's a real lake. Well, a man-made lake or whatever. With like 2 fishing rods and everything. Like, that is so cool. You know, if anybody gets mad to drown a bitch in it. Andy, he's sitting down. Lisa, she's the first one to come out. You know, she sits down and she's like, hey, baby gorgeous, I love it. And Andy's just like, oh, I love that colored dress. And then I believe the second one to come out was Jen. She comes out in her feather dress and she has this little tumbler drink. And I'm just like, what is this, Marisol from Miami? Like, it's been there, done that, Jen. Put that away. But it was cute that it had the little logo of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City on it. She sits down. Everybody starts coming out one by one. They're all sitting down. And of course, Miss Jenny. The first thing that comes out of her mouth is just, where's Mary? Where's Mary? And I'm just like, Jenny, that's the first thing that we hear from you at this reunion? Like, that's your biggest concern right then and there. And you know that as soon as Andy told them, oh, Mary's not going to be here, you know Jenny was probably like, wait, can we cut the cameras? And she probably went backstage and she probably tore her entire dressing room up. She was probably so pissed. She probably wrote all over the mirror with lipstick, like, I hate my life. I can't believe this. Like, she was my only storyline. We all know she was probably pissed. Before I talk about the reunion officially, we're going to start off with the looks. We're going to start off with Meredith, who was sitting on the left side of the couch at the very end. And I know that people had a problem with the seating chart, but honestly, I just couldn't really see the seating chart any other different way because Meredith couldn't sit next to Lisa with all their tension that they have. I mean, it would just be kind of like causing friction between them, having them that close to each other. So of course they had to put Jenny in the middle. But honestly, I mean, if I had to have it my way, I think I would put Meredith next to Lisa. Jenny, I would put her in her dressing room. I would leave Jen where she's at. Heather and Whitney, they could be on the floor, and Andy could be in the middle of everybody else asking the questions. Honestly, that's the only way I could have really seen the seating chart any different. But we're going to start off with Meredith. Meredith's outfit, I mean, first of all, the category is, in my pray tell voice, is feathers on the runway. No, but the theme of the whole thing was jewel tones. You know, like little colors like that. Meredith, hers was light blue, baby blue. And honestly, looking at her outfit, I mean, when she was standing up, it looked kind of questionable. It didn't look bad, but it didn't look good. But when she was sitting down, it made a whole difference to her outfit. When she was sitting down, she actually looked nice. I actually didn't mind the feathers going down her arms. The whole suit looked really, really nice. The hair, it was really cute. The makeup was cute. Everything about it looked cute when she was sitting down. It was when she stood up was the whole problem. It kind of reminded me of Rosita from the Sesame Street. It kind of looked like Rosita went to Fashion Week in New York. I'll put a picture up here if nobody knows who that puppet is from Sesame Street. But yeah, her look wasn't terrible. It wasn't the best either. And fun fact too, it was a Brooks Marks original as well. Like Brooks, I believe he collaborated with somebody else, Christian Cohen or whatever. And this is what they got. This was their creation. This was the Bride of Frankenstein. Then we move over to Jenny. Jenny, you know, for having such good fashion at the beginning of the season, what was this? For your first and only and last reunion look, I don't know what this was because, I mean, it kind of looked like She took it away from the person who was making it. Like, somebody was probably making this dress and she busted into the room like, okay, I need the reunion. It's about to, I need the look. The reunion is about to start in 2 minutes. Give me that dress. I don't care if it's not done. I'm putting it on anyway. That's what the vibe that gave me from her dress. I mean, it looks unfinished. It looks way too long for her. And I'm not really sure how the silhouette went, because even standing up, I still couldn't tell what she was going for with the outfit. I mean, I don't understand. So this was a terrible choice. We move over to, I believe, Lisa. Lisa was the first couch next to Andy. And Lisa, I mean, again, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like, woo, either. I mean, I don't really know her for fashion either, honestly, to be honest. She's just there. I mean, her hair, same style of hair that we always got from her the entire season. The shoes were cute. I mean, I'll give her that. But the dress, I don't know. She looks like a Christmas gift that I would see underneath Dorit from the Beverly Hills Christmas tree on around the 24th. But honestly, I don't really get much of it. But again, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. It was just kind of like, meh. Then we move over to Jen. Jen, I'm looking at this outfit and I'm just like, why does this look familiar? Wait a minute. This bitch stole my look. Who wore it better, y'all? Me or Jen? And if you say Jen, you're getting blocked. But Jen, I mean, her outfit, it had a lot of feathers. And then kudos to her for sitting there for who knows how many hours with those feathers in her face. Because I don't think I could do it. I mean, it's only been 5 minutes of me sitting here with these feathers in my face. And I'm ready to yell out cock-a-doodle-doo any second. Like, cock-a-doodle-doo with these damn feathers about to go in my mouth. Like, I mean, Jen, her look was good. I mean, I thought it was cute. It was different. It was something, you know, different. That's the only thing I could really put to it. I mean, the chandelier part on her breast, that made it kind of look cheap. The gloves kind of made it look cheap. I wish you would have wore the velvet gloves without the little crystals on it. Maybe it would have been cute. I believe it was the producer that told Andy, like, Jen, you need to take the fuck off those gloves ASAP, because we can't really hear in the back. Like, it's making too much noise. She took it off, and yeah, it did kind of make her look a little cheapish. And Andy, he took a dig at her, and he was just like, oh yeah, now you look basic. See, now if I was Jen, I would have been like, I'm basic. Okay, let's not talk about your looks, Mr. Andy. And then we move over to Heather. Heather just... I mean, I like that it was velvet. I like the color. From afar, all the colors lined up together. They look pretty because, you know, the jewel tones. But I mean, Heather, it was kind of boring. It was kind of plain. Her hair was plain. I think her hair should have been up, like maybe in a bun or something, to kind of go with the outfit. And maybe have like a bigger diamond necklace or something. But she had these little cheap pearls. I don't know. It was okay. No, it was bad. I think it was terrible. I think her and Jenny had the worst look. And then we move over to Whitney. Now, Whitney, I'm sorry, y'all, but Whitney had the best look at this reunion. Everything about it was beautiful. Everything about it was good. I mean, the dress was beautiful. It was everything about it I would wear. I mean, the green was one of my favorite type of colors. I love that type of green, and I love maroon. Those are two of my favorite colors. The shoes were right. Everything about, like, the one open leg and then just kind of drope it, the whole dress draping around the entire other leg. Everything about it looked nice. I think the only thing I had an issue with was the thing on her arm, like that huge, like extra shoulder that she had on. I mean, I could have gone without that, but I love the glove on one hand and then the other one was kind of just naked and free and stuff. I love the entire dress, even up to her little bob that she had, the little like short bob that she had behind her ear. I thought that was good style of hair. A good hairstyle to put on for this dress. It kind of reminded me of what Nene said. I like your bob. It was very tight. Like, it was really tight, and like, it was not moving. I mean, she was nodding her head, and it's kind of like she super glued her hair onto her scalp because it was not moving. I mean, she would turn around and nothing. It would stay in that kind of like, you know, symmetrical look. But everything about it was beautiful. I love the entire look. And as for my outfit, so this is a Brooks inspired, psych. This is not, Brooks did not touch this. So as for this look, you know, I was inspired by Jen. You know, I'm giving you criminal couture. What do y'all think? You know, am I serving feathers? Before the reunion officially started, they put a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode stating that everything that was filmed at the reunion was filmed prior to Jenny's post coming to light and being exposed, so they didn't discuss it here at the reunion. Just in case if the audience were questioning, why are we not discussing what Jenny posted on Facebook? And honestly, I wonder how they would have handled that situation. Would they have given Jenny the boot? Because then it'll be 2 housewives down. So would they have given her the boot? But honestly, knowing Andy and Bravo, they probably would have gave her the first chair next to Andy, like, oh, here you go. Do you want like some hand warmers too, since it's chilly in here? I wouldn't be surprised, but that was a little disclaimer. And somebody also pointed out in my last review in the comments, and they made a good point saying, how come they didn't put like a trigger warning at the finale last week? You know, with the whole glass throwing and Jenny throwing it at Mary, why didn't they put like a trigger warning, like knowing that the audience was not going to like that, knowing what we know of Jenny? So why are they doing it now? So it's kind of too late. I mean, I appreciate what they were kind of doing here, but they should have done it last week as well. Then Andy, he starts off the reunion by going around and questioning everybody. And he's just like, so everybody's okay? Everybody's good? So Jen, I haven't seen you since the last reunion. And I'm just like, what? He hasn't seen Jen since the last reunion? That was probably like, what, like 2 years or a year or something or whatever? And I'm just like, you haven't seen Jen in person at all. I mean, honestly, she hasn't been on Watch What Happens Live either, has she? Has she even been on it virtually? I guess not, but he's just like, I expected you to wear white, you know, to the reunion. And I'm like, why? So she could look innocent or something? I'm surprised she wasn't wearing orange already, but okay. And then he goes over to Lisa. He's just like, Lisa, how are you feeling? And Lisa's just like, I'm just so glad we're not on a sprinter rant. And I'm just like, yeah, because Jen was about to come at you. Then he moves over to Jenny. He's just like, so Jenny, how does it feel to be at your first reunion and your last one? And then she says, whatever she says, doesn't matter. Then we move over to, I believe it was Whitney and Heather. They're both good. Meredith, she's good. And she's just like, you know, Andy, I was kind of disappointed that you didn't give us a hotel with a bathtub. I wanted to take a bathtub, you know, to kind of relax and everything and, you know, kind of just mellow out and everything. But you know what? For the next reunion, for season 3, if we don't get canceled by then. And then Andy's just like, you know what? Okay, fine. That's good enough. So then he starts off by saying, well, I'm sorry to tell everybody, but I need to inform you that, you know, Mary, she's not going to be here at the reunion. And everybody was just kind of like taken aback. And again, you know, Jenny was just sitting on that couch, like just clawing her nails into the couch, like, oh my God, she was my only storyline. What am I going to do now? Wait a minute. I'm going to pick a fight with Meredith. And that's exactly what she tries to do. Andy informs Whitney that Mary felt really disrespected that Whitney called her a predator. And I'm just like, wait, she called her a predator? And why did she call her that? I mean, I'm pretty sure she probably did at some point this season, but the season is so long for me to remember everything that they called each other because this cast has called each other everything in the book. So it's hard to keep track of what they said to each other. But Whitney, why did you call her a predator? I'm pretty sure that I probably commented on it in one of my reviews earlier in the season if it happened at the beginning of the season, but I just don't remember right now. And Mary also felt disrespected that everybody was talking about her church behind her back. Now with that one is a little sticky, but because we all know on the Housewives franchise, marriages, friendships, affairs, businesses, all of that gets torn to pieces if the Housewives find out that something sketchy is going on, or if they smell something sketchy going on. And us as the audience, we all saw Mary's church and we all were like, what's really going on? And then the audio leaked of her talking to her church people and, you know, kind of downplaying them like, oh, you need to give me money, you need to give me this, you need to give me that. And then of course, you know, people are going to have questions about that. So I mean, if you don't want people questioning stuff about your church or about your life or about your marriage, don't go on TV, because obviously you're not going to get the privacy. Even if people want to be like, oh, you know, it's the church, it's religion, that should be respected. We all know that on the Housewives, nothing is off limits with these women. Like, and that's not even for the Salt Lake City, because look what's going on in New Jersey. Margaret, she's constantly, you know, butting into Teresa and Louis' relationship. Like, wait, what's going on with Louis? What's going on with Louis? When that has nothing to do with her and it's none of her business. So that's just kind of like the thing, Mary. But I mean, I completely understand why Mary decided not to come to the reunion, you know, putting those two reasons aside, because look how she was treated these past, 6 episodes, especially at the finale. So I don't blame her at all. I don't blame her kind of removing herself away from everybody and taking away Jenny, Heather, and Whitney's storyline. And Whitney, I feel like maybe her and Mary could have maybe, you know, came to like at least a cordial type of friendship with each other at the finale, had it not been for Jenny acting like a wild animal the entire time, because Mary was actually open to kind of maybe talking to Whitney, but they never really got to it because obviously, again, Jenny intervened and she never got to kind of put the bow on the friendship that could have been with Whitney. So who knows where that would have been if Mary would have shown up. I'm not sure if maybe she would have mended things with Whitney. Who knows? We'll never know. And then Heather was backpedaling so hard this reunion, especially right off the top. I'm like, no, Heather, like stick to what you were doing this entire season. Don't try to clean up your image now at the reunion and try to act like the audience didn't see all 20 episodes, especially these. See, I saw that, right? Especially these last 7 episodes, because no, nobody's following it. And Heather's just like, you know, I gained a huge respect for Mary. And I'm just like, what? Am I hearing this correctly? Like, let me take these feathers out of my ears. I'm like, am I hearing this correctly? She's like, I gained so much respect for Mary. She's just a wonderful human being. I can't believe Mary's just, she's a beautiful soul. Just everything about her is amazing. And I'm just like, Heather, absolutely not. Like, no. Again, I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this. Again, you were trashing Mary the entire time. This entire season, again, these last couple of episodes, you told Jenny to throw the drink at her, and now all of a sudden you have this newfound respect for her. And obviously the respect is only coming because Heather and Lisa don't get along, because Andy's just like, wait, you found new respect for her, why? And then Heather's just like, well, I just feel like in her confessional she said some truth to, I mean, yes, she has a way with words, but I feel like there was a lot of truth to what she was saying. And obviously with Mary, she says a lot of things that people could take out of context and stuff. But I feel like when she was coming out with the other woman, she wasn't lying. Like, she was not lying when she went one-on-one with everybody on the cast. Everything that she said, even though to them, it may have been like, oh, you're hurting my feelings, you're being mean, you're being that. But was she lying? No, she wasn't. So, I agree with Mary never really saying anything false in her confessionals, at least. And then Lisa's just like, oh, you're only saying that because she was talking about me. You're so textbook. You're so textbook. Of course. And of course, that's the only reason why Heather all of a sudden wants to be up Mary's ass now, because she knows that what Mary was saying about Lisa, it was negative things. So of course, Heather, for some reason, this reunion, she's coming at Lisa. And Lisa, I'm actually surprised and a bit disappointed that you're sitting at the front seat right next to Andy and you can't even take on everybody coming at you. Like, no. Like, you cannot, all of a sudden this entire season kind of stir the pot and kind of, be so messy with everybody and try to, put your hand out there, throw the rock and then hide your hand. You can't do all of that and then come to the reunion and just be scared the entire time, because the entire reunion, she was just fidgeting around in her seat like you could tell she was really, really nervous and she couldn't go one-on-one with everybody and she couldn't handle everybody coming at her. And I'm just like, Lisa, no, you can't do all that. For season 3, you have to really prepare yourself for that. And I feel like this is what a lot of people were saying. If she just embraced the villain role and the fact that she is a shit stirrer, kind of like Lisa Rinna, I cannot believe I'm putting them in the same category, but I kind of see them in the same category. But if she kind of embraced that with the same thing that Lisa Rinna, how she kind of embraces being the villain on her show, I feel like you will have a better chance on this show and kind of just saying that instead of kind of denying everything like, oh no, I didn't do that. I didn't say that. No, I never said that. Because that's all she was doing on this reunion. Like, oh no, I never said that. Oh no, I said that. And I'm like, no, we have you on tape. You did say and do all these other things that everybody else is accusing you of. And then this was the funny part, because I believe it was Jenny. Jenny jumped in and she's just like, but Heather, Heather, how can you agree with everything what Mary was saying? I mean, she called Whitney a whore. And then Lisa jumps in and she's like, yeah, exactly, Lisa. Like, she called Whitney a whore. Isn't Whitney your friend? And then Heather looks over at Whitney and she's like, wait, she called you a whore? And then Whitney slowly looks over at Heather and she's just like, I'm like, well, and then Heather had nothing to say. I mean, it is what it is. And then I believe it was Heather continues on with her BS. And she's just like, I just really wish that Mary was here because, I just feel like there should be some closure. And Meredith, she was there for Mary the entire season, except the finale, where it really mattered. And she was always there for her. And I feel like Mary should be here for Meredith because Meredith needs her support. And I'm just like, Heather, since when do you have a heart all of a sudden? Like, since when do you care about Meredith and her support? You and Whitney did not care about Meredith's support when both of you were constantly grilling and making up lies about her dad's memorial all season long, or at least for like 20 episodes. And now all of a sudden you want her to have Mary in her back for what? So you could have another reason to kind of try to tear both of them apart. And then again, both of them come at you and tear both you and Whitney apart. Like, no, I'm not understanding that. And then Meredith, she opens up her mouth and she's just like, well, you know what? I really wanted Mary to be here at this reunion to support me, but I understand because, well, I just feel like the show isn't really good for Mary. It's not good for her mental health. It's not healthy at all, Andy. And, I completely understand that. And honestly, I agree with Meredith. I feel like the show was not well for Mary, even though she was entertaining and she had her moments and stuff. She was good for the show because she gave us something different, a different type of housewife that we don't usually see on any of the cities. I feel like the show wasn't doing her well because obviously everybody kept coming at her, especially these last couple of episodes, for no reason. I mean, yeah, she may have had her moments. Again, I'm not denying it from the beginning of the season, but these last couple of episodes, there was no reason for everybody to just kind of pile up on her. And again, that's not good. That's not healthy for you to kind of put yourself in an environment just for the sake of a show. So then Andy starts right away with Jenny. He starts listing out the things that she's being charged for, allegedly. And he's just like, so you're facing 30 years in jail, allegedly, right? And I'm just like, well, 30 years. I didn't know it was 30 years. I thought it was a couple years, but I didn't know it was 30. Like, Jen, you're in danger. Like, that's pretty scary. And then he's just like, so how do you feel about this? And do you regret still staying on the show? Were you going to quit the show? Please don't quit the show because we need you. Because at this point, we're recasting right now. We don't know what to do. So what are you going to do, Jen? And then Jen is just like, no, I feel great. I'm innocent. And I'm just like, we're still continuing this innocent thing, huh? And then she's just like, I'm innocent. And, I'm fine. I did talk about it with my lawyers, and my lawyers, they were not happy that I showed up at this reunion. And I thought about, quitting the show. No, I didn't. I need all the money I can. I never thought about it. The thought didn't even cross my mind. Who am I lying? But I never thought about quitting the show. I thought about it for a quick second, for maybe 0.1 second. And that was it. And I actually thought that I need to stay on the show and prove, to the world that I'm innocent. I need to tell my story. Like, the thing about Jen and Erica, to a certain extent, but I feel like Jen is a little bit more delusional, allegedly, if she comes out to be guilty, is that Jen is really sticking to her roots of being innocent, and she is not removing that title away from her. I'm assuming that even if she comes out being guilty, she's probably still going to be in jail like, nope, I'm still innocent. I don't know what I'm doing in here. Andy moves on, and he's just like, okay, so let's talk about, the comments with Heather and you, like your friendship and stuff. Heather, how do you feel that Jen called you Honey Boo Boo and Shrek? And I'm just like, here we go again with this comment. And then Heather, she's just like, I'd rather be called Honey Boo Boo and Shrek by somebody, Jen, a friend that I know that, it was just kind of like making fun of me behind my back. It's kind of like a playful joke. So I'd rather be called that than other things of, other castmates called each other. Obviously, she's alluding to Lisa calling Meredith a whore. And I'm just like, Heather, what kind of explanation is this? Like, no. Like, what is it that you being called Honey Boo Boo and Shrek? What about that is funny? And just because it's Jen, you're just letting it go. Like, it's nothing, like, it's not funny. It's actually kind of degrading. It's pretty sad that you see yourself in that type of lighting, that you're okay with that. If anything, it's kind of toxic. I believe I said that in my second episode review, that, the friendship that you and Jen have, or your mentality to her, is really toxic, because she could call you anything in the book. She could show up at Beauty Lab and rob the whole store with no mask on and nothing, and rob it right in front of you, and leave with every single product, and you'll probably be like, oh, she was just borrowing it. Like, and then Whitney, she jumps in and she's like, oh, well, if you're Shrek, then I'm Donkey. I'm like, no, you're not Donkey. Don't disrespect Donkey like that. You're Fiona, especially in that green dress. And again, Heather, for you to say that it's okay for Jen to call you Shrek, like, that's even more disrespectful. At least call me the fairy godmother. She's the bad bitch. And then Jen, her excuse is, I wasn't calling you Honey Boo Boo. I actually called you Shrek because you were acting like an ogre to me, not because of how you looked. And I'm just like, I'm not buying it, Jen. You were calling her a Shrek because you were trying to take a dig at how she looked. And then Heather, she looks over at Jen and she's like, do you think that I look like Honey Boo Boo? At this point, we need to bring Honey Boo Boo for next season, and she needs to be the friend of the show or something, because they keep mentioning her name. At this point, I will be like, Andy, you need to pay me my money for all the time that you keep using my name on this show. And then she looks over at Jen and she's like, do you think that I look like Honey Boo Boo? And then Jen, if you notice, she looked down for a quick second and she's just like, oh, my feathers are so cute. No, I don't think that. I don't think that you. I don't think you look like Honey Boo Boo. No, of course not. No, I don't. Again, I was not buying it, Jen. You know what you were saying. Jen, she starts talking to Andy. She's like, I don't get it. I called her names or whatever, but everybody calls each other name on this cast, but for some reason, I always get crucified. And Andy's just like, well, why are you looking at Lisa? Are you talking about Lisa? And then Jen is just like, yeah, because Lisa, look what she has said, and like nobody says anything to her. And then Heather, she opens up her mouth again, and then for some reason, she keeps trying to like dig at this issue between Meredith and Lisa and trying to interject herself in it. And she's like, oh yeah, well, Lisa, you have said really awful things about me. I saw that text message about you calling me a Lego. I'm like, a Lego? What the hell? Like, this is what we're doing now on the show? And then Lisa, she's like, no, that wasn't me. That was your best friend that talked shit about you and Whitney. She's talking about Angie, the other friend of the show that could have been, but we didn't get her. I believe that's the right Angie, right? Because there's two Angies on the show, right? Isn't one of them the bartender? But either way, we see the screenshot. I'll put it up here. And if you look at the screenshot closely, it looks like Angie was the one calling Heather a Lego. And she put like the picture up there of a Lego. So I'm not sure why Lisa was getting the blame for that. But Lisa, again, she just kept denying anything. She's like, I never talked bad about either one of you. I'm like, Lisa, you know you're lying. You know you talk bad about Heather and Whitney, probably worse off of camera. So let's stop there. And she's like, oh, your friend Angie, she's the one that called both of you garbage. I didn't say anything at all. And then Heather's like, oh, well, me and Whitney, we already talked to Angie. We already discussed that. Obviously, she was just calling us garbage because of the things that you were saying. And I'm like, but you're still okay with your friend calling you garbage just because somebody else said something bad about you? Like, that's still not okay. I mean, I don't know how Heather or Whitney handles friendships, but that's just not my thing. As soon as you call me anything out of my name, we're done. Well, it depends. Heather, she also goes along and puts her foot in her mouth by saying, you know what, Lisa? I'd rather be called Shrek than be called a dirty old whore or something like that. She said, I'd rather be called Shrek than be called a whore the way you were talking about Meredith. That was just so disrespectful what you were saying. Again, she was just trying to light the fire in Meredith so Meredith could attack Lisa right then and there. I saw what Heather was trying to do. She was just trying to like amp up Meredith so she could make the issue much more larger than it already was. And I'm just like, so you'd rather be called Shrek than a whore? I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'd rather be called a whore than Shrek. I mean, at least the whore sounds kind of kinky and kind of nasty. Andy also questions why Heather is being called a Lego, specifically a Lego. And Whitney, she speaks up and she's just like, well, she's talking about her body, so that's body shaming. And Heather's just like, yeah, she's body shaming me. And then Lisa, she speaks up and she's like, no, Heather, I'm not body shaming you. I think you look great, Heather. I don't know what you're talking about. I never said anything about your body. And then Andy, he moves the conversation over to Meredith. And he's just like, so Meredith, your relationship with Jen, I mean, you know, obviously she apologized to you and Brooks. Like, is there something deeper that was going on? Like, what's going on here? And then Meredith, she gets a little choked up and a little emotional talking about what she was going through. And she's just like, well, you know what, Andy? Given the information that I know now, you know, that was misinformed actually between my person right here next to me, Jenny. Well, you know, honestly, you know, Jen was pretty kind. She was pretty okay. And then Lisa was just shocked at everything that was coming out of Meredith's mouth because Lisa just kept gasping for air. She was just like, like every 5 seconds, she was just astonished at everything that Meredith was saying because she was actually speaking nice of Jen. And then she's just like, well, you know, I was going through a lot. And then she started getting emotional and she started crying a little bit, even though I really didn't see any tears. And then we got a Potomac and Salt Lake City crossover because we got a friend of the show from Potomac making their appearance on this reunion because Andy hands over Candace's tissue. He hands her a tissue and then Lisa takes it and she hands it over to Meredith. Meredith does not take it until Jenny takes the tissue and then she gives it to Meredith. And I'm just like, ew, no, too many people have touched that tissue. Like, it's okay. I'll just cry into my feathers. Like, that's gross. There's a pandemic going on. What are we doing here? And then Meredith, she reveals that the reason why she was just so unstable and so, you know, out there, because we saw how her behavior changed from season 1 to these last couple, 6 episodes where she was just going off on everybody. She said that she was going through a lot. Her dad had passed away. The last time that she saw him was through a glass door because of COVID. She couldn't have any contact with him, and that's the way she got to say goodbye to him, I believe through FaceTime, I think she said. So, you know, that was sad. And if I was Heather, I would feel like complete and utter shit just sitting there knowing that her and Whitney kept trying to bring up her dad's memorial over and over and over again and trying to get her to say that she was lying about it, knowing this is what she was going through. So Meredith is just like, that's why my behavior was so intensified. Like, that's why it was at a 10. And that's why I kept coming at everybody like that, because I was going through a lot. And Jen, you know, I'm sorry if I offended anything that I said to you or your family. I'm so sorry. You know, you were actually kind to me. And again, Lisa gasping for air. She's just like, and she couldn't take it anymore. She was like, I just find it so funny that, like, you know, both of you are singing Kumbaya and trying to hold hands. Like, no, I can't believe this. But me, I mean, I don't know why everybody's looking at me as a bad person now. I mean, let's say I didn't say what I said in the room about Meredith. Then what? What will be saying? This is exactly what I've been trying to make work for the entire year. And now all of a sudden I'm the bad person. And I'm just like, well, Lisa, Yeah, I could understand what she was going through because yes, Lisa was trying to get Jen and Meredith to become friends, and now she's kind of being the one that both of them together look at her like the enemy. So it's just like I could see what she's going through and what she's feeling, but at the same time, Lisa, we can't pretend that you didn't say what you said about Meredith, even if you want to say, oh, let's say I didn't say that. We can't even say that because you did say it, and it's on camera. It's on audio. So then Andy moves the conversation over to Jenny, and he asks her, so how does it feel being a person of color living in Salt Lake City? And I'm just like, oh, that question to Jenny? Ugh. But okay, let's see what she has to say. Jenny, she goes on to say that her living in Long Beach, I'm like, here we go again with her mentioning Long Beach for the 100th time. She said that living there as an immigrant, it was hard because she has an accent and people will always look at her like, this is America. You're not really supposed to, talk like that. What is going on? But Jenny, she stood her ground and she's like, well, no, this is my accent. This is how I speak. It is what it is. And then Andy asks Lisa, so why did you think she was a good person to be on the show? And I'm just like, yeah, we all want to know, Lisa, why is that? And then Lisa, she goes on to say that their friendship goes back all the way to when Jack, I believe it was it was a Jack, right? Yeah, Jack, he was 2 months, is it 2 months? 2 months year old. No, that doesn't make sense. He was 2 months and Dewey adjusted him or whatever. I don't know what that meant. What was she trying to say? Like Dewey adjusted him, like his back or something. And I'm like, he was 2 months, like he was 2 months old. So your friendship with Jenny goes back a long way. And it just goes to show that, what everybody's saying about Lisa, like Lisa, you sure you had no idea of Jenny's, thoughts and her behavior on social media? I mean, you were friends with her for all that time. And Jack is, how old is he now? Like 10, 12, whatever. You were friends with her all this time and you had no idea about her posts, or you didn't, see her social media or anything like at all. Like I couldn't imagine being friends with somebody that long and just like, just skipping all their posts on social media. Like no, you have to see it at some point, at least one or twice. And she had like a good amount. So I'm pretty sure you saw one at one point, Lisa. So I don't know. That's a little sketchy right there. They move the conversation over to Meredith. And then Andy's like, so Meredith, do you think that, when Jenny interjected herself in the situation with you and Jen, back in, I believe it was like the 4th, 5th, 7th episode, I believe it was the 5th episode when Jenny was just like, oh, do you want to be friends with her, Jen? And Jen was just like, yeah, do you want to be friends with Meredith? So both of you need to shut the fuck up and make up. And I remember even back then, I said like, Jenny, I don't know, you're using too many F-bombs with everybody. You don't even know the group like that. So if I was you, I wouldn't get that comfortable. And Meredith, she was just like, I just felt like she really didn't know the group like that. I didn't really know her like that. And for her to kind of put herself in that situation was it was a little interesting. Yeah, I get what she was trying to do, but I prefer if she kind of just staying out of it. And then he asked Jen the same question. And he's just like, so Jen, do you think that Jenny also handled the situation right? Like, her behavior and stuff. And Jen, you could tell that Jen just does not like Jenny, but she's trying to be nice and cordial about it because her face said it all. I mean, she looked disgusted anytime Jenny was talking or anything was, about her. Jenny also questioned Heather and Whitney on their words that they have to say about her on the after show when they called her Lisa's puppet and her minion. And Jenny's just like, how am I Lisa's minion? I'm not her minion. I'm not her puppet. Like, what's going on? And honestly, I don't really see Jenny as Lisa's minion or her puppet. I actually forgot that they were friends at some point because Lisa is team Lisa. So at the end of the day, she doesn't really care about any of y'all. She doesn't really care who she needs to manipulate or whatever, as long as she's good and as long as everybody else is fighting around her. So I wouldn't really call Jenny her minion. She's a clown, yes, but she's not really Lisa's minion. And I feel like at the same time, Lisa, what you're saying is, oh, I don't need to manipulate people. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. But that's exactly what you were doing all season. I mean, you were trying to manipulate situations and then kind of just like, oh, wait, what do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. No, I never had anything to do with it. So you, by saying that, no, it's a contradiction. And I just wish that Lisa would come at Heather with the same fire and the same heat that Heather keeps bringing to her this entire reunion, because Heather was at a 10 with Lisa. You would think that Lisa took ownership of Beauty Lab or something, the way Heather kept coming at Lisa. I'm like, what happened between both of you? I thought both of you were kind of okay. What happened from the last episode to now to have both of you kind of have all this animosity to each other, especially you, Heather? So Lisa, if I was you, again, I would just take off the gloves and just, go at it with Heather. Like, she obviously wants some type of heat with you, so you might as well just bring it to her. And then they asked for Meredith's opinion. Meredith is just like, well, I don't think that, Jenny is necessarily her minion. I just feel like she's very protective of Lisa and her image and her life. It's not about what you shouldn't do as a friend, it's what you shouldn't do when it concerns Lisa's life. And then Lisa, again, she was so shocked. She kept pulling a Kyle Richards. She was just like, like every 5 seconds. Andy then brings up the ignorant comments that Mary had made earlier in the season, talking about Jenny and Jen, and how she mentioned how Jen reminded her of a Mexican thug, and how Jenny, she had nice slanted eyes and she had nice yellow skin, and how she was mimicking her accent. And then Andy's like, so Jenny, how did that make you feel? What do you think about that? And then Jenny, if hypocrite was a person, she was sitting right there in a blue dress, because Jenny, she goes along and she's just like, I just felt really disrespected. I would think that, she being a person of color and me being a person of color, we should stick together as minorities and people of color. And I'm just like, at what point should we start sticking together then, Jenny? Because I don't know. The proof is in the pudding, and it's not showing what you're saying here at this reunion. And part of me was just like, why are they showing this out? Like, why didn't they just edit all of this out? But the other part of me was just like, no, let Jenny look like a dumbass on TV and see how she was kind of like an enemy in disguise type of thing. Because let's say we would have never known about her post. She'll be sitting here and the audience will be buying it up like, yeah, poor Jenny, I can't believe this. It's so terrible. But we all know how she really feels. So all this minority talking, we should stick together. Yes, we should stick together, Jenny, but obviously you choose not to, because in your head, you probably think that you're a white woman. So it was just, I don't even know. I guess the word would be irony. And this is just the iceberg of that conversation, because it gets worse as Andy continues talking to her later on. And I'm just like, Jenny, you really said this. Like, it's so sad. Again, it's so sad how she really just played up this whole, woe is me thing and stuff, and just for sympathy, when we all know how she really feels. And yes, it's wrong to send Asian hate and to tell people, you're a virus, you're this, you're that, you're the third. Mary's comments, again, they were ignorant. They were terrible to say. You shouldn't say that. But Jenny, again, that doesn't excuse how you really feel about black people. And then Andy, I believe he asked Meredith, so Meredith, how come you didn't say anything to Mary? Like, what was that about? And then Meredith, she goes on to say like, I wanted to say something for her, but I told her no characters and I wasn't laughing or whatever. I just didn't really necessarily think it was anything wrong with what she was saying, because Jenny, she didn't really say anything about it. And I'm just like, but Meredith, Jenny did say that it was wrong. She did express it that, she felt some type of way that Mary was saying this or whatever. So I'm not really sure what Meredith was saying here. She was kind of losing me here on this conversation, because I'm not really sure what she was trying to get at. And then they moved the conversation over to Heather and her comment that she made at the faux lunch, when she was just like, you look like an anime character. Now, this is another part of the whole reunion that I found interesting, because Heather explained herself and she was like, I'm so sorry for my comment. I could see why now it would look offensive. But I wasn't trying to say that. I was just trying to say that, you look like a beautiful character, like a beautiful drawn out character or whatever. And then Jenny went along and she was just like, I appreciate that. And I like the compliment, but I just don't like the labeling. And I'm just like, so you're okay with Heather saying that to you? And look, you squashed everything between you and Heather in like 2 seconds. Yet for Mary, you want to crucify her and you want to just pin her against a wall and keep telling her, you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't say this. When Mary also apologized to your face after when you explained everything to her, like, Mary, you shouldn't be saying this about my eyes or about my skin. Mary apologized. Mary was just like, I'm sorry, I didn't know that this was offensive. Yes, Mary was ignorant about it. Yes, she was. But again, she apologized to you and she never said it again. And she learned from it. At least I hope she did. So I don't get why you didn't give Mary the same grace and you kept holding that against her. But here, Heather, it only took like 20 seconds and it was just like, okay, yeah, we can move on. We're best friends. Next conversation. So they went back to Meredith. And this is where Jenny tried to pick a fight with Meredith. And I'm like, Jenny, I don't think that you really want to go against Meredith, because that's not looking good. And Meredith, she went along to say that the reason why she wasn't really defending Jenny a lot, because she was sugarcoating it at first, like, I don't know, I'm not really Mary's mother to be telling her what to do. And yes, that is a valid reason. You shouldn't be telling any grown person what to do or whatever, because Mary and the rest of the women, they all have their choices, and choices have consequences. And Meredith, again, she's not Mary's mother. And she went on to finally say, the reason why I wasn't really saying anything to Mary or defending you, Jenny, was because I felt kind of attacked by you. And I'm just like, this is interesting. Where did this come from? And I'm all here for it. I'm like, go ahead, Meredith. Tear her apart. And then Meredith, she went on to say, the fact that you met me once, you met me once at a party, and then the next week you said that I isolate people when I don't like them or when I have a problem with them, I ice them out of the group. I felt that was offensive, and I'm just like, so this is the issue between her and Jenny. And Jenny couldn't even look at Meredith. She just kept looking straight forward, but she just would not look at Meredith, who was sitting right next to her. So I'm like, Jenny, what's going on? What happened to the Long Beach, Jenny? Jenny, she's just like, no, I mean, I didn't say that about you. I mean, I wasn't really necessarily saying that you were a bad person or whatever. It was just the observation. And Meredith was just like, well, I don't appreciate that. And I don't appreciate you saying that I ice people out of the friend group or whatever, because that's not me. So please stop. And then Jenny, she tried to get slick with her mouth and she was just like, are you done? Is that it? Is that it? And I'm just like, whoo, Jenny, like, and you know Meredith wanted to say, actually, no, I'm not, bitch. But she kept it classy because she was just like, well, you know what? No, there's more. Let's take it there. So, you were complaining the entire time that Mary gave you some used shoes. She gave you used shoes and you were complaining that it was a regifted gift. Yet you gave my husband for his birthday some used golf balls. And I'm just like, ooh, it gets deeper. I'm like, wait a minute, Jenny, you and Dewey are giving gifts like this, but yet you were complaining about the red bottoms that Mary gave you. I mean, I can see how that was disrespectful, but you're even more disrespectful. Golf balls? Like, what is that? What is this? Andy then turns the conversation over to Lisa and he asks her, so Lisa, did it surprise you to see how Meredith was so quiet when it came to her friend Mary and her comments to Jen and Jenny? Did it surprise you? And Lisa, she takes this huge dramatic moment and she's just like, that's a good question, Andy. Let me sit around and think about it for a second. And I'm glad that Jen whispered it's either a yes or no question. Like, I don't know what the long pause was for. But Lisa then goes along to say that, yeah, she was surprised that Meredith didn't really say anything because she knows Meredith enough to know that Meredith doesn't really stand for right or wrong. Like, she really needs to say, she usually speaks up when she feels that something is wrong. So she was shocked that she didn't really say anything to Mary. And then Meredith, she interrupted and she was just like, well, Lisa, I mean, the situation between, me and Mary is completely different because I did have my own moments with Mary. We talked about it and we had our own one-on-one conversations, even if it was off of camera. And Andy actually made a good point for once. And he was just like, well, I mean, Meredith, I mean, that's all good and everything, but it's just like, it doesn't really matter if it's not on camera. And yeah, it kind of really doesn't, Meredith. I mean, you could have told Mary like, oh, what you said was wrong, what you said was wrong, what you said was this, that, and the third. But if it's not on camera for the audience to see or the other women to see, then to us it looks like it kind of just went unnoticed, like you didn't really care, or you kind of was just like, okay, I'm here for it. So next time, I mean, yeah, you have to do it on camera. Yes, it's kind of like annoying picking at that, but you're on a reality TV show. You can't just like say things in disguise or say things behind closed doors and just assume that the audience knows that you did it. So the next question that Andy reads from the fan, he asks Jenny, he's just like, so Jenny, this fan wants to know, when are you going to stop? You're so hell-bent on, Mary making fun of your accent and stuff, but when are you going to stop mimicking a black accent and stop portraying yourself as a black woman stereotype by using the finger in people's face and rolling your neck nonstop? And I was actually shocked that Andy actually asked this question to Jenny. I'm like, okay, let's see what she has to say. Jenny, I mean, you should have known that a bunch of BS was going to come out of her mouth the minute that she was smiling as Andy was asking her the question. And her excuse was, well, I mean, no, I don't use a black accent. This is just how I talk. I don't really roll my neck like that. And then they flash back to all the times that she went out with Mary. And I mean, in every single scene, yeah, I mean, I don't know, Jenny, the proof, again, is in the pudding because you were putting your hand in her face and your finger and all this and rolling your neck and stuff. And, it's a terrible stereotype all overall. And she had the nerve and the audacity to ask the other couch with Jen, Heather, and Whitney. She's like, do y'all think that I'm using a black accent? And everybody stayed quiet. And I'm just like, I don't really think that they're in the position to speak for that for anybody, and nobody on the stage was black, so it was also like uncomfortable because I'm just like, I wish that they could have this type of conversation, but not with a group of white women. I mean, what are they gonna know about situations like this? It's not even my place to talk either. Andy, he also goes on to ask her, a drink throw that you threw at Mary or whatever, like you're always saying that, oh, her actions were violent or whatever, but you don't think that was violent? And Jenny again put her foot in her mouth because she was just like, oh, well, I mean, I threw it at the floor. I didn't throw it at Mary. If I wanted to hit Mary with it, it would have hit Mary. And I'm just like, but you don't just throw a glass on the floor for no reason in that direction. I mean, it was close to her. And if not, the camera people, just like I said, Mary and the two camera people that were on the floor next to that glass, all three of them should have just took turns on you, Jenny, honestly, because you put their, body parts in danger or their face or whatever with all the shards. Even if you didn't mean to direct that at Mary. Let's just say, let's just go with your excuse. You didn't mean to throw it at Mary. You still threw the glass, and what? So you think the shards are just gonna, oh no, we're not gonna go far. No, they probably went far. They probably touched Mary to some capacity. It's just she was smart enough to walk away from it before anything like hit her, like, her legs or whatever. What if it would have scratched her? Or what if it did? Then what? Are you still gonna use the same excuse? Then Heather. Oh, Heather, she was out of nowhere. She was just like, I just really do think that, somewhere deep down inside of me, I really do think that Mary is racist. And I'm just like, Heather, that is a huge stretch because, again, so I have already said this in my reviews. I have already said that Mary, her comments were ignorant. They were racist comments. But do I personally think that Mary herself is racist? No, I just think that she's highly ignorant. Like, it was a dumb thing that she said. She said sorry. And I think she genuinely meant that. I don't think that she really meant to say, oh, I like your slanted eyes like this or this, down the third. Like, I don't think that she said that with any malicious intent. And I have said that in my reviews, prior when that whole situation happened. And I don't get why, her anime comment could just, be forgiven so easily, but Mary's comments can't. So I'm not really sure why can't we hold both comments to the same status. So we're going to say the same thing. Heather, you're racist too. As a matter of fact, I should have said this at the beginning of this review, how you're so quick to just forgive Jen for calling you Shrek and Honey Boo Boo, but nobody has addressed that Jen has also called you a racist. I'm surprised that wasn't brought up at the reunion. Andy didn't ask you oh, so what do you think about Jen calling you a racist? There must be some truth to that, Heather, at this point, because for you to call Mary that, I mean, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that Mary's racist? I just think that she was ignorant in the moment. I don't think that she was, being racist. And then this is the cherry on top because underneath her breath, Jenny's just like, everybody could be racist. And her comment was a reply to what Andy had just told the group after Heather accused Mary of being racist. Andy was just like, well, I just had a conversation with Mary not too long ago. And Mary actually says that black people cannot be racist. So that's when Jenny, underneath her breath, she was just like, well, anybody could be racist. And I'm just looking at her like, who are you to talk? I mean, the whole conversation was just so cringy and awkward to watch and to listen to, knowing what we know about Jenny. I'm just like, Jenny, you're really just sitting there, just so confident in what you're saying. It's just so terrible. And again, for them to all have a conversation like this out loud to each other and to have these slight opinions or whatever with no black people on the cast as of now, because Mary, obviously, she wasn't there on the reunion. It's terrible. And I also want to add this in because I saw that people were saying that minorities cannot be racist, but according to the definition of what racism is, it's prejudice and discrimination against someone or a group of people of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. So with that definition said, let's just say that I saw another Latino person, right? Because I'm Latino, so I'm speaking for me. Let's just say I saw another Latino person making fun of a different ethnic group or a different race and using stereotypes or just slurs that, belong to stereotypically to that ethnic group or that race. Would I not call that racism? I would call it racism. I would say, yes, you're Latino and me and you are both Latino, but you're racist at the end of the day because you're using hate against another group and you're thinking that what you're doing is okay. And with me, I just don't think that that's just prejudice. It doesn't just stop there. And it also makes it a little bit confusing because prejudice is in the definition of racism. So, and I also saw people trying to defend what Jenny was posting and her beliefs on black people and saying, oh, well, she's a person of color, then she can't be racist either because she's not white. And I just don't believe that either. I feel like Jenny is racist for what she posted and her beliefs and her hatred for black people that she posted online. So again, I believe that everybody could be racist because if you're sending hate to another group, even if they are another minority just like you, I feel like you are capable of being racist. Andy then brings up another issue that happened this season at the beginning of the season though that I completely forgot happened in the first place, and it was the whole catering situation. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that whole catering storyline was such a huge thing at the beginning of the season, and then we got to episode 7 and woo, everything went downhill after that. But he brings it up to Lisa and he's just like, Lisa, so what happened with that, with Angie? Were you trying to mess up her business? Was she trying to mess you up? What's the truth behind that? And honestly, I kind of wish that they would have had Angie kind of at least make an appearance on the couch for a second, maybe 2 minutes or whatever to explain her part of the story, because then Lisa brought out the receipts and I'm like, oh, Lisa, you go in the list of other housewives also bringing items to the list, because she brings out this notebook and she's just like, hold on, Andy, give me 1 second. Hold on, I got the receipts. Hold on, I'm gonna get them for you. Let's see. No, this is Monique's binder. No, these are Monique's papers about Jamal and Giselle. Okay, no, hold on. I think it's this one. No, this is Wendy's binder that she brought last on Potomac. Here are the text messages. Here, read them. Like, she had on a whole blinder that she just took out of the couch. I'm like, what is this, the big comfy couch? Because she just took it out of nowhere. I'm like, where did she take that out from? Her ass? And then Andy, he proceeds to read the text messages. And if you notice, Lisa also did that mouthing thing that she does on Instagram or online, where she reads off the words of other people talking. And as Andy's reading the text messages, she's also wording it with her mouth. And honestly, I was so confused about the whole situation. At the end of the day, I didn't really get an explanation of what really happened. I mean, Angie, she told Lisa, oh, I don't, we could film or whatever at your catering event, but we're not really gonna, have multiple shots or whatever. I was confused about the whole situation. Whitney also wanted to know, did you also tell Angie, to unfollow me on Instagram or whatever and to not acknowledge me? And Lisa, before Whitney even finished talking, no, that's not true. I don't know what you're talking about. No, it's not true. Like, Lisa was not taking any accountability for anything, absolutely nothing. The only thing that she actually admitted to was when Heather was just like, oh, well, you called me and Whitney, and I think Angie, polygamy inbred cousins, did you not? And then Andy asked Lisa, did you say that? And I'm just like, Andy, don't you watch the episodes too? Like, she did say that at the beginning of the season. Lisa couldn't lie herself out of it. You could tell that Lisa wanted to say no, but she knew if she says no, like, she'll be caught on camera. And she's just like, yeah, I did say that. And I'm just like, okay, at least she admitted to something. And then Heather, she tried to have a moment with Lisa. She was just like, well, Lisa, I wouldn't want to be you or your character or whatever, or even have anything to do with your character, because you're just some girl that, read some magazine paper or magazine book back in 8th grade, and you thought, oh, this is how you become a cool mean girl. And I'm like, okay, Heather, I mean, she thought she had a moment with that. I'm just like, okay, I mean, how many times did you repeat that in the mirror in the dressing room? Like, I can only imagine Heather like, okay, this is going to be my moment. As soon as I say this to Lisa, the audience is going to go crazy. But I mean, I'm just looking at it like, okay, it felt kind of flat, but all right. Lisa, again, you're getting chewed up by Heather and Whitney. And Jen, you're not saying anything. She's literally a sitting duck at that couch right next to Andy. I'm like, okay, if you're not going to do anything, then just move over. Like, give Meredith the seat, because you're just letting everybody just come at you, and all you keep doing is, no, I never said that. So what did you say? What was your purpose on the show then this season, if you didn't say so many things that you allegedly didn't say? So I don't know. And Heather, I'm telling you, she thought that her snowflake was probably on the line, because she came ready with her armor, her sword and everything, like her shield, everything, because she was really coming at Lisa hard. And Lisa, again, you weren't saying anything, which I was shocked and disappointed by. And then I believe the next conversation is, Jen, so, the whole situation with Lisa and the whole list of her kids inviting people or whatever, how come they didn't invite you, and how did you feel about that? And Lisa, why didn't you invite Jen? Lisa goes on to explain how she felt hurt by Jen because, she was also attacking her character and her motherhood. And I believe she said that her son, Jack, had heard on the phone her and Jen going back and forth with each other. And Lisa believed that that was going to be the last time that she talked to Jen Shah, as she said in her own words, because she felt like Jen was kind of talking bad about her, and she was kind of showing that she was a bad mother or whatever. And then Lisa eventually is just like, no, you know what? No, first of all, I love Jen no matter how controversial it is. And then Jen did not like that, because Jen was just like, why do you have to add controversial before anything nice you say about me? I'm tired of everybody always saying these labels when it comes to Jennifer Shah. I can say the same thing about you, Lisa, how controversial it is to love you. And that was that. What did y'all think about part 1 of the reunion? Honestly, I feel like it should have been a 2-part reunion. I mean, this episode right here, it kind of covered most of the whole season, honestly. I mean, what else is there to talk about besides Jen's case? And that should only take up at least 10, 15 more minutes. And then the husbands come in and they share their opinions. That could have been for part 2, but I don't know what they're going to talk about part 2 and then in part 3. Like, how much more of the season is there to talk about? Because I feel like they kind of wrapped it all up in part 1, but I guess we shall see what more they have to say. Maybe they'll elaborate on other issues or whatever, or deeper conversations or deeper moments on the season. But who knows? But what do y'all think about part 1? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye, y'all. See you at part 2.